School to Prison Pipeline, Part 2, Finding Solutions, by me, Amethyst Terrell. So, in Part 1, I showed you all how big of a problem the school to prison pipeline is in our country. So, Part 2, I'm going to be going through some solutions to that problem. It is crucial that we find some solutions to end the school to prison problem that our country has faced for many decades. In order for a student to get a great education, they have to be in school. The school to prison pipeline and its policies are costing our kids their future. There are a few things that we can do to help end this problem. The first thing we can do is implement alternative discipline strategies. Now, I'll be the first one to say that certain disciplinary actions in school, such as bringing a gun or bringing a knife to school, that is merit enough for expulsion. Anytime you put other students and teachers' life in harm's way, you should be expelled, no questions asked. I don't think that expulsion is the right way to handle minor school disciplinary actions, such as talking back to a teacher or horsing around in the hallway and certain things of that nature. I think that schools should implement positive ways to get their point across instead of suspending kids. Methods such as the On-Campus Intervention Program, the OCIP, and the Consistency Management and Cooperative Discipline Program are alternative approaches to suspension and expulsion. The On-Campus Intervention Program, or the OCIP, provides counseling and support services to help students address and modify challenging behaviors and giving them opportunities to learn from their mistakes. The On-Campus Intervention Program is a program that help students understand why they act how they act, why are they so angry, why are they so mischievous, and come up with ways to help them learn from their mistakes and change their actions. This is an alternative to suspending them and putting them in the school to prison pipeline. The Consistency Management and Cooperative Discipline, the CMCD, is another program. Now, what this program essentially does is it brings the teacher and the students together, and they collaboratively come up with class rules as a way to deter them from mischievous actions in school. Now, this deters students from misbehaving because if they are a part of creating something, kids are less likely to destroy it. So if they created these class rules, they're not going to break them because they feel like they are a part of the solution. The second thing that we can do is implement cultural competency training. Students of color have been suspended and expelled from school due to minor infractions countless of times over the last decade. There has been no evidence that shows African American students engage in more problematic behaviors than their Caucasian counterparts. So why are they being arrested more? This brings up a deeper problem, and that is the problem of systematic racism within our school system. Our country was built on the idea that African Americans are inferior and they lead to a life of crime. Our country was built on African Americans are less than. They were forced into slavery. They didn't get the right to vote until the 1950s. They are still fighting a fight for equality today. So though slavery is over, the idea of racism and the idea that African Americans are inferior are not over. And those ideas have in fact poured into our school system. Cultural diversity training allows professionals to become more aware of others' cultures and prompt the exploration of how and why certain stereotypes and discriminatory beliefs exist. With cultural diversity training, you are making it so teachers are aware of other cultures, particularly African American and Latino cultures, because those are the ones those are the type of students they tend to write up the most. Being made aware of the potential stereotypes and biases that exist in the subconscious minds of your teachers are also important, because if someone has a negative bias about African American kids or Latino kids or even Caucasian kids, you don't want them working around your kids. And a lot of times teachers don't separate their personal life from their professional life. So they bring their racist ideas and their racist actions to school, which is another reason why most African Americans and Latinos are being targeted. If you get into their minds and weed out their biases, then you can maybe change those biases and make them more culturally aware, and that will also put a stop to the school to prison pipeline. The third thing we could do to stop the school to prison pipeline problem is consider the policies. For example, consider the policy that consider the impact that the zero tolerance policy has had on the school to pipeline problem. The zero tolerance policy has been an enhancement for the prison to pipeline problem, because teachers feel like they're not tolerating no misbehaving, even the ones that they should be able to tolerate. It is necessary to advocate for new policies and reconsider how these disciplinary actions are affecting the kids in more negative ways than positive. Evidence from research proves that zero tolerance and related policies do not work. And they don't stop bad behavior, but they exacerbate the bad behavior or makes bad behavior worse. They don't deter your students from crime. They make them want to go out and commit crimes. Oregon has replaced its zero tolerance policy with rules that only allow expulsion for conduct that threatens the safety and well-being of others within a school environment. So the state of Oregon has already implemented a rule that says we're only going to expel the students who put other students' lives in danger. And other schools across the nation have began to clear up gray areas concerning the disciplinary actions of their students, and they've also started to limit including law enforcement into disciplinary actions. A lot of times, law enforcement are not equipped to dealing with kids. And like I said in part one, they forget that they're dealing with kids. So eliminating them for making decisions about what happens to kids with disciplinary issues is, in fact, a good thing to do. The fourth and final thing that way that we could eliminate the prison and pipeline problem in the United States is just to eliminate police from schools. I feel like police should be the last resort and not the first response. I feel like the police should be the last person you call when dealing with kids. Schools should actually just sit down with their kids and talk to them and figure out why they're behaving, because 9 times out of 10 kids misbehave for reasons. If you actually treat the student with respect, they will treat you with respect. This is a picture of the school to prison pipeline. So you see On the left side of the photo, you have a line of students. They're in school. They have books, and you see he has an apple in his hand. On the right side, you have police and you have prison. You can see that he's an African American. He's stepping through the door. His clothes changed to a jumpsuit, and he's going to prison. He's going from school to prison. This is essentially what has happened in our country and what continues to happen in our country.